The HR Happy Hour Network is sponsored by WorkHuman. Workplace recognition is more than a feel-good moment. It's a powerful source of people data that transforms cultures and businesses. WorkHuman unlocks that power with human intelligence. AI trained on millions of coworker thank yous to uncover the hidden patterns shaping your culture. Who's actually driving projects forward? Where are the skill gaps? Which teams are thriving and which need support? Say goodbye to the guesswork and leverage the collective wisdom of your people to form insights that you can act on. And here's the best part. WorkHuman guarantees measurable results, real culture improvements that drive real business outcomes. Visit workhuman.com to turn your recognition data into a competitive advantage. WorkHuman, a proud sponsor of the HR Happy Hour Networks. Thanks for joining us. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the HR Happy Hour Network. This is the play-by-play podcast hosted by myself, Jack McFarlane, and Nick Schlemmer.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Let us be the first to wish you guys all a very early happy Thanksgiving. I almost said happy Easter. I don't know why I would have said that. That would be very early. But this is the November episode, so happy Thanksgiving to all. Hope everyone had a good Halloween. For us, we're about to have Halloween. A couple days,
Yep.
right, Nick?
I
Are
thought
you
you were
dressing
about
up?
to give us a nice Happy New Year. I thought that's what we were
Happy
about
New
to
Year.
say.
That's early. That's early. We'll hit that with our year in review is the next episode. So we'll give Happy New Year
That's right.
there. Are you dressing up for Halloween, Nick? Well, everyone wants to know.
I think we're supposed to dress up, but I don't have a costume yet, so
Okay.
we'll see. What about you?
Time of recording, Halloween's in 2 days, just so everyone knows. He doesn't have his costume.
So I don't know.
I am dressing up. I am a sugar daddy. The candy. It's a big candy costume. My fiance is a pickle. We went to Walmart before a Halloween party, and all the costumes were sold out, and it was just food. So there we go. Catch me
That
on the
is a
streets.
great combination for a couple
Yeah,
right there.
I know. There we go. Pickle and sugar daddy. It works. But, yeah. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving early to everyone listening, and we've got a fun episode today, Nick. I know it's something that you have experience with, and that I'm sure we've
Yep.
all seen. I personally don't have experience with it, and I'm calling this the newest trend for Gen Z. What is it, Nick?
So it's called Buy Now, Pay Later, BNPL. Pretty much you're gonna not every checkout, but you pay for the first portion of your bill um, in segments. Okay, so usually it
Mm-hmm.
splits it up into four segments. You're going to pay for about 25% of your bill straight up at the register, um, and then it'll just instantly credit your debit card or any card that you attach to the account that you create, such as Klarna, and there's a few other different services that you can use that stores use. But you attach your card to it, you'll pay. Say your bill's $100, you'll pay $25 the first day. Beginning of the next month, here comes another 25. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
something new, and like you said, it's the newest Gen Z trend, and I think it's still growing. It's one of those things
Yes.
that not every store, like I mentioned, uses it. So it's still on the rise.
Yeah, it's definitely more popular in online shopping. I feel like every time I
Yes,
online shop now, I always get the
online for
option, would you
sure.
like to pay in 4 installments? And yeah, like Nick said, it's basically you pay 25% up front, and then you got three more automatic charges every 2 weeks is about the typical amount that I found while researching. And yeah, it is very up and coming, but this isn't a niche product. About 44% of Gen Z have reported to using a BNPL service in 2024. And I'm sure within the next couple months, when it turns over to 26, that number will have rose for this current year. A fun
100%.
fact, during the holidays, according to a JD Power survey, 54% of Gen Z use the BNPL, which surpassed credit card users that had about 50% usage. So, at least in Gen Z, we saw a slight takeover when it came to heavy shopping
Hmm.
during the holiday times. And I wouldn't be that surprised if we see that split just throughout 2025 as a whole, where Gen Z is using more BNPL services than a credit card. And a lot of people like it because it's very psychological, okay? Over half of
It
Gen Z,
is.
about 55%, says it helps them manage finance better than a credit card, right? With a
Yeah.
credit card, it can be daunting. Sometimes you're not all about it. You might get, oh, I got $1,000. I can now just spend whenever I want. That is not how a credit card works, but a lot of people do it like that. This is kind of
Hmm.
a dumbed down version of a credit card. And we'll get into what are the downsides of that, or and
Yeah.
what are the positives, because there are positives. But first, I want to hear your personal experience using a BNPL, Nick. Did you like it? Would you do it again? Or was it kind of like, I'll try it and see?
Yeah. So I've used it one time, and ironically enough, it was during the holiday season.
Okay, there
I
you go.
was online shopping, and like you said, they always pop up with, "Do you want to pay in those 4 installments?" And like you said, it's not like a credit card, and and it's charged like a debit. So
Hmm.
there are those fees for missed payments. Like if you don't
Yes,
pay,
there's no interest fee.
like there's no interest. So like you said, it's kind of like a
Hmm.
dumbed down credit card, and that's kind of what drew me in. Was like, oh wait, maybe I can just spend a lot of money buying Christmas presents, whatever it may be, and you got one more to buy, and it fit in perfectly in my situation to where, like, you know what, I'll just pay a little bit right now, and then I'll just pay the rest once the new year hits. I won't have to
Hmm.
spend that much money on presents the next month, so I'll have some more
Yeah.
funds coming in. I think utilizing something like this in a very specific circumstance, I think is great. And like you said, we're going to get into the drawbacks of it that we'll
Hmm.
talk about later. But for me, it just kind of fit perfectly into where I charged $25, whatever it was, to my debit card, and then the rest came out every couple
Yeah.
weeks. So
And
in that
that
sense,
can,
it was nice, and there was no it wasn't on a credit card, so that you didn't have to see it sitting there at the end of the month. It was kind of like just an automatic whoop, there it goes, like you're paying a bill.
exactly. Yeah. It's not like something you have to go in and make sure you hit the pay button. No, it's automatic. And
Yeah.
then if you don't have the funds, or for whatever reason the automatic isn't working, you get charged a late fee instead of like an interest fee. Um, that just made me think quickly before we kind of get into what are some of the downsides. I remember if I make a big purchase and I go into my bank app, Chase Bank is the one I use. I'm sure a lot of people listening use that. And so you've probably seen this. If you make a big payment, when you open your statement, it will ask you, do you want to split this into 4 payments? So it's not just the store itself, but even at
Hmm.
least Chase Bank will allow you to do this BNPL. Now, I haven't tried it. I don't know if you can do one at a time, two at a time. I'm not sure when it comes to Chase,
Yeah.
but you can definitely at least do it once, which I find pretty interesting. I'm still on the fence about it. I don't know. I'd rather just kind of pay it now, get it done with. I'm
And
not
yeah,
sure, but I can see the draw. Um,
oh, for sure. I
and
mean,
we'll get into like the financial side just a little bit later
yeah.
on, where there are more benefits, but like any sort of money, credit card, anything, there are a lot of risks that you should know about before
Hmm.
using any of these services. So let's jump into that, Nick. And the first big one that I want to talk about is loan stacking,
Yep.
right? Let me run a scenario through your head. Let's say you get a credit card and you've got $1,000 credit line and you use it all right away. Boom, you used your 1,000. Well, you now can't use more than that without fees. And eventually, if you're not paying it off and you're lacking up fees, the card it'll freeze you. They'll contact you. Maybe you can set up payment plans, right? They're not on your side, but they almost are, right? At some point, they're gonna be like, okay, you cannot spend more. You have to pay this back. Here's a plan. We'll set you up pay. That is not how this works. Since BNPL is run by many companies like Afterpay, Klarna, Affirm, you can have as many as you want out, right? You could
Hmm.
stack three, four, five of them at one time, which when you first pay 25%, you can afford that. If you do it 5 times, there's a good chance you can't afford all those, you know? So
Yeah.
it's it, it's a huge problem. A survey done by the Motley Fool found that 37% of Gen Z users have lost track of their BNPL payments. Not just aren't able to pay it, but like don't even know how much they're owing each month because they've stacked so
Hmm.
many. And that's where it can really start to bite you. You might not be to the late fees yet, and I'll let you get into kind of the phantom debt, but this is the start of it, right? If you're stacking five,
Hmm.
6, 20 loans, if you're using it on everything you buy, you could easily have
You're
10 BNPLs at one time. It can snowball on you.
100%. Like you said, it's one of those things. It sounds great up front, But then, sometimes there's this thing called life. Something comes
Hmm.
up, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I have four other charges that are about to hit my account
Yeah.
coming up.
And I
And you're
cannot
like,
afford it. I can't afford it.
it's the balance,
Yeah.
it's what you risk whenever you do something like this. And Jack, this is interesting. A 2025 bank rate survey found that 66%, so of Gen Z users, about two-thirds, have experienced these sort of problems, whether it's a
Hmm.
missed payment or overspending.
Yeah.
66%. I mean, that's pretty significant.
Yeah. And it really doesn't surprise me. I mean, Gen Z is still very young. If anyone gets a credit card for the first time, not just Gen Z, this is anyone
Mhm.
who gets one, often can experience a late fee or overdraft, because you're just excited to spend the money, right? It's
Yeah.
happened to everybody. That's not just a Gen Z problem. But that's kind of how I equate the two. BNPL is like the alternative to credit cards. So to see that two-thirds have had a late payment or have overspent does not surprise me. And I'm sure that number goes up as people use
Hmm.
use this more, as it becomes more common practice. Because right now it's popular, but still fairly early on, right? You
Yeah.
can't really do it in person yet, but it's slowly taking over online. It's at
And
almost every website you buy stuff from.
and like you said, maybe like I'm thinking about this now, maybe I'm younger, 15, 16 years old, first job, and I
Hmm.
see, oh, I only have to pay, part of this now. Sure.
Yeah.
Like, why not? And then, but those, the fees, they're the real deal. While it's advertised as interest free,
Hmm.
some of those late fees that you can be hit with this BNPL can be as high as 25% of the original purchase. So pretty
Yeah.
much the same thing, that the same price you just bought it for, you're getting hit with the late fee. Now you're
Yep.
at, 125% that you're paying. So a couple late
And
fees.
exactly. Most likely, if you're getting one late fee, there's going to be more to come. Since most of
Yeah.
these are automatic, a late fee really only happens when you just don't have the funds. And
Mhm.
it's like Nick said, if you get hit with four late fees, that is double the price of whatever it is that you bought, right?
Yeah.
So it really is like a credit card, but I would argue it is worse. And that is because of this late fee creating phantom debt. So when you use a credit card and you put charges on it, pay it off, you are building credit, obviously.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, right? You want to build your credit score up. Well, BNPLs build no credit. There is no way to track them. That's why you can stack them so well. And if you make every payment, good. But if you would have done it with a credit card and made every payment, you would have gained, advantages, points, more
Hmm.
credit, rewards. Instead, it's none of the benefit with all of the risk. Because if you don't pay these back, you're paying the same fees as a credit card fee if you miss a payment there.
Yep.
And yeah, that's where it gets hard for me, to be honest, to get behind it. Why not just use your credit card? Or why just get the payment over with? And so that's my biggest drawback with it is that phantom debt. You know, they market it so well, and they use, like you said, the interest
They.
free with instead it's
Hmm.
late fees. It hides the real risk that and it makes it seem so easy, right? I don't know if you get that as well,
Yeah.
but when you're on there, when you're on Amazon or
100%.
whatever, it's like one button. It's like, oh, split this payment into four. You can pay
Hmm.
$25 now for $100 item. I mean, it sounds so nice.
Yep.
It's really not, especially since you don't build credit, you don't get points. You're just taking a risk for almost no reason,
And
right?
it probably tells you something like that. You hit it, and then it says, there's always the "Are you sure?" or whatever
Mm-hmm.
form it may be, and you always just click yeah. Like, it's
Yeah,
there, but who actually takes the time to
and
read
and
what
I'm
it's
sure that
about?
and like I said, I haven't done it, so I'm not certain if that pops up or not. But I bet if it does pop up, it literally just says, "Are you sure?" I doubt
Yeah.
it really says. Maybe there's a link where you can click on and read the terms and service or whatever that might warn
Probably,
you
yeah.
7 pages down. But they want you. They want you to do this, right? It's like a
Oh
credit
yeah.
card company. They want
It,
you to spend money and incur interest, or in this
mhm.
case, pay late fees. That's how they make their money,
Oh
right?
yeah.
If
It's
you're on
just,
time
yeah.
every time with it, they're not making that much money. But if you're missing
It,
7 fees over your 10 stacked BNPLs, Oh, they're making
You,
bank. That's what they
you
want
know,
you to do.
100%. It's two big companies partnering up to where you have,
Yeah.
you know, a firm, and then you have Dick's Sporting Goods, wherever it may be. Dick's is benefiting as, oh, wait, I might draw in more customers only having to pay part of
Mm-hmm.
the bill. But
Yep.
as a firm, they're getting 125% of the,
Of every
they're
product
getting some of
sold.
this too. So it's
Yep.
like they're getting payback off of this just as much as Dick's is getting that, like 25% more customers, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like
they love it. But
the
for us, it
the
could
number
be
one yeah, the number one tip that I would share and that I try to go by is, especially when it comes to credit cards and stuff like this, not necessarily banks and debit cards, but they might seem friendly. They are not your friend. The credit card companies, BNPL companies are not out to help you. They just are not. They're there to make money. And how do they make money? By you missing payments and having to charge the fees. So you always have to be careful.
100%.
And that kind of got me thinking, how does this tie to payroll and business? And that brought me to Gen Zs that have what I considered a summer job, minimum wage job, compared to a
Hmm.
professional job. Okay, so the baseline here is 50 grand a household or less, and 100 grand a household or more. Okay, that's kind of the numbers that I found. There's not too many surveys out there yet, but there's a decent amount, and this gave me a decent idea. And so I want to hear your thoughts on this when I read them off to you, Nick.
Okay.
But the first thing that shocked me, with that 50 grand and 100 grand area, they each use 31% BNPL. So it's not like lower income is
Hmm.
using it more than higher income, right? That was my initial hypothesis, is that people that are earning less are going to use this more because
I would
you
say
can
that that's
split
what
up
I
your
would think
payments.
as well. Yeah.
Turns out that's not really the case. It's about the same, 31%. Maybe this year when we get the updated statistics, it's a little more split, but we'll just have to see. Instead, what I really found was why these lower income compared to higher income Gen Z jobs are using it. So, lower income people use it out of necessity. They need to buy their
Hmm.
$100 of groceries on Amazon. They can't afford it right now, but in 2 weeks they're going to get their paycheck. So 25 now, and then 25 in 2 weeks, and they get paid. Right? Go
Yep.
do it with your paycheck. They have to. They don't have a choice. So it's out of necessity. Um, Higher income does it more because it's kind of like when you used it. Just want to see what happens. Maybe
Yeah.
they're not worried about having a late payment, and they like the idea of not having it all taken out of their account. It's more of just because they use it, just because, for a lack of a
It,
better
it
word.
it's a cash flow tool for them. They're
Yes.
utilizing it in a
Yeah.
very strategic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, and then another difference I found was between the late payments, and this it's not just a money thing when it comes to this. You could argue that lower earner could be less educated, could, a number of factors. So you got to keep that in mind. There's a number of factors that could be affecting this number right here. It's not just straight what you're making, but
Hmm.
done from this study, it showed that lower income users 40% of the time had to make a late payment, while only 13% of high income users had to make a late payment. There is a number of factors that can affect
Yeah.
that, but that is the
Yes.
statistic, is that the lower income Gen Z are making more late payments. My best guess, that ties back to necessity, and the stacking,
One
the
hundred
loan
percent.
stacking. Got to pay my groceries, got to get my gas, got to get these four things. I'll do them all on BNPL. Next paycheck hits, I will pay them off then. Well, usually if you're
It's
lower
like
income,
yeah.
something might happen in life. Like you said, life happens.
Life
Maybe
happens.
there's another big charge that comes up. Maybe you had to fix the brakes on your car. You're out a couple $100. Now you can't afford two of your
Hmm.
four BNPLs. Boom, late payment, late payment, late payment.
And I
So,
like the point you made, Jack, to where it's like they could afford it if they did this, right now. They could
mhm,
afford it that second. Maybe
but not
maybe like
in the future.
yeah,
You,
not in the
it, it,
future.
I think you really did say it best earlier in the podcast when you said life happens. It's kind of the same thing with a credit card. You might put some stuff
Hmm.
on your credit card and be like, I'm going to pay this off right away. And then, like, let's say you're getting gas, put on your credit card. I'm going to pay that off right away. And then you get a fender bender, and now you have to pay $2,000 to fix your car on the way home. And now you can't afford to pay off the credit card. You'd be thinking, wow, I wish I would have just paid with a debit card. You never
Yeah.
know. You really never know. So I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on this, Nick?
I think as from a business thinking mindset, as a for-profit company, I see the idea. It's
Mm-hmm.
there. It's obviously worked based off of some of these statistics, especially in Gen Z. I'm curious to see how it works with maybe some of the other generations, or are they
Mm-hmm.
utilizing it less, or less missed payments, whatever it may be. So I think it's still new, like we mentioned
Yeah.
before. It's still uh, growing and gaining traction, but from a business standpoint, I can see where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm. And just to answer your question a little bit, I saw some statistics from other generations. It looked like, at least from the surveys I was seeing, that Gen Z used it the most, which wasn't surprising to me with it being
Yeah,
such a
it makes
new
sense.
idea. It is
Hmm.
kind of catered toward Gen Z. I mean, most people that are older have higher paying jobs. I mean, most of Gen Z is still on what I like to call a summer job. I'm still working in a golf course. You are
Yeah,
too, but in a totally
I
different
am too.
way.
Yeah.
So in a different way that you are working there. But I mean, the pay is probably not that much different for now. That will be your profession. You'll make a lot more than a normal golf course worker. So it really is marketed toward Gen Z. I guess my last question for you, Nick, is something I just thought of. If you were a business, right, and
Hmm.
especially one, maybe when you're running a golf course one day, is there anything that you would like to see businesses do when it comes to maybe educating younger employees about the benefits or what could go wrong?
Yeah.
What would you like to see businesses do to maybe help the incoming workforce? Because when you get your first professional job, like when I get my first
Yeah.
professional job,
Hmm.
my income is going to go up by like 10 times or more. You know,
Yeah.
that's when a lot
Hmm.
of people can get in trouble when they start getting more money. So, is there anything that you would do or you would like to see done to help that?
Yeah. We always talk about, or we always think about, or hear that schools should teach students how to utilize money, how to do this, how to do that.
Hmm.
Okay, my thought process is, how about a job doing that? If
Hmm.
a job is doing that for their employees, educating them about these BNPLs, credit cards, whatever it may be, but tying it into their own training in a way, I think that is going to help me as the business owner, knowing that, okay, all of my employees, from what I can
Are
tell, and for what,
financially sound. They're okay.
financially, they're doing okay, they're making the right decisions.
Hmm.
That's probably going to, have a reflection on a whole, like, how are they working? How are they coming
Hmm.
into work?
Definitely.
Are they stressed? Money
Yeah.
adds a lot of stress for people in the United States and around the world. I think that if I was a new business owner, if I could somehow incorporate some training or just some education on this, I think it's going to reflect back very positively for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you said it perfectly. There's nothing I can add. I would do the same thing. Went for a training and education, and yeah, try to help your employees because a non-stressed employee is going to work better for sure. So, I mean, well said, Nick. Honestly, that was
Thank
perfect.
you.
I guess I'll leave you guys with my closing remark on this whole topic. Overall, BNPL is marketed as a smart, flexible tool that can help you, buy whatever you want. But the data is showing, as you've heard throughout this show, that it can create a very new and real dangerous cycle of debt that comes with none of the benefits of a credit card if you're paying on time. They want you to impulse buy, stack payments, and then have a high rate of regret at the end of it because you've now spent twice as much on the product than if you would have just bought it outright. Like I
Yeah.
said, they are not your friend, although they might seem like it. You have to be careful. And that's my closing remark. Just be careful. You can use it. Nick has used it. One day after this, after we record this, I will use it just to try it out. But you have to be smart with it. Okay? That's what we want everyone to know.
100%.
Whether you're a business looking to train people on this or just make sure you are in the know about it, or if you are Gen Z listening to it, thinking about doing a bunch of these loan stackings, just be very careful.
Jack, I couldn't have said it better. What a great way to wrap up the show.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll come back with everybody's favorite quote of the show.
Alrighty, guys, we are back finishing up today's episode with the quote of the show. And Jack, I heard this on a recent audiobook and I liked how simple it was, but how powerful the quote was and kind of how it ties into today's show. And you sent me what we were talking about and all this, and I was like, it clicked in my head that this had to be the quote for today.
All right.
So this is from the audio. This is from an audiobook that a buddy gave me. So I can't remember who exactly said it, or it didn't specify it, but it's simple but effective. It says, interest on debt grows without rain. It's a nice reminder that those financial burdens can keep growing even when it seems like nothing's really happening. Right? It's in the background. But it can grow without rain. Everything grows with water. Everything grows with rain. Money doesn't have to do that.
Yes, it does not. It won't grow on a tree, but man, it'll grow on your BNPL late fees. Yeah. I mean, so that's a great quote. I mean, always bringing it with these quotes, Nick. I love it. I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope you guys learned a lot. Honestly, that was our main goal: learn and not really warn, but caution you, so you know what's up. Let us know if you use BNPL services. If you have a good interaction, if you have a horror story, just let us know. We would love to know. And yeah, next episode, guys, year in review, my favorite episode of the year. So I'm looking forward to it. And have a happy Thanksgiving.
Like Jack said, a year in review is coming up soon. Always a fun time. I'm looking forward to it. Today's episode, I had a blast, learned a lot, got me thinking about it, even doing the show as we're recording it. Oh. So that's always a bonus whenever you start actually like, okay, it's clicking. But it was a great show, Jack, and bye for now.